Hello everyone, DM Johnny here from Dungeons & Dice, and today we're going to go over the 4 easiest classes to play. So if you're a new player, these are the ones you should stick to, or if you're a DM that's got new players, these are good for suggestions. Let's get started. Coming in at number 1, my personal favorite, easiest class to play, it's the Barbarian. It's not difficult to play, it's easy to understand. You can tell someone they're going to be playing a Barbarian and they'll know what they're doing. They're running in and they're attacking. The advantage of the Barbarian in my eyes is that since it has such great HP and the resistance from rage means you can actually be in combat taking hits and learning how combat works. My experience is that if you want to learn, hey, this is how Fireball works, it's to be up in the front row. It's to be taking the hits and being like, okay, if I make a wizard, I want to use that spell. Or if you get stunning striked or something like that, you're like, okay, maybe I'll try a monk. You're gonna learn a lot about the combat as a barbarian. And I also recommend you do the bear totem because that just gives you resistance to everything minus psychic. But I mean, your DM's probably not gonna blast you with psychic. So I personally think that the Barbarian's the easiest class to play because all you gotta do is rage and attack, rage and attack. Well, actually, all you gotta do is rage once and then attack and then attack. You're gonna get hit a lot, but your HP pool is high. So that's expected. You want to get hit. That's how it works. Your AC is going to be a little bit low. So that's how combat works. But what about like out of combat? What do? Barbarian's a strong man. That's about it.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
You can try to be the face. You can try to be intimidating. Charisma's probably not going to be your big stat. But every group needs someone that can push a door open or pick something up heavy, or just needs a person that's gonna go to the tavern and arm wrestle the guy that has the information. It's really easy to play the Barbarian from both a combat perspective and a role play exploration perspective. You're gonna excel at combat. Role play, you know, just expect that maybe you'll be the butt of the joke or something like that. It's not bad, it's just don't expect to be the guy making all the decisions or be the face, as it's called, the person that's talking all the time. And hey, if you have a player that is looking to play a Barbarian and isn't quite sure what to do, $1 up at our Patreon. We got all this stuff. We have pre-made characters. One of them is a Barbarian that is a bear totem Barbarian. I'm not saying they got to follow it completely, but they can look at it and sort of get like, this is a good idea. These numbers are good. And on top of that, you get, I think we're up to 40 magical items. $1, that's all it is on our Patreon. Go check it out. Now for number 2, we are going to go with the Bard, so Barbarian and Bard, Barbarian if you will. Bard is actually one I don't have a ton of experience playing, but I've had plenty of players play it, so I know how it works. From my experience, especially if you're a new player, you're gonna wanna stick to the sort of support back line role as a Bard. Maybe grab like a light crossbow, but I actually like to use cantrips. You just don't do as much damage. So the Bard is specialized as sort of like an off healer. It can do Healing Word, which is a ranged heal, but it also has like Dissonant Whispers. Dissonant Whispers is, it makes a character move, like an enemy character move, but it's not forced movement. What that means is that your allies can use attack of opportunities while these creatures are running. So that means if there's 2 melee, let's say a Barbarian and a fighter, and you use Dissonant Whispers on this creature and it fails its save and has to run, that's 2 free attacks. It's clutch. Oh, and before I forget, the other big thing on Bard is Bardic Inspiration. This is why you were very good as a support. You, as a bonus action, can basically give, at the first level, a D6 to someone that they can use on their ability rolls, attack rolls, or saving throws. And that goes up as you level. It's like D8, D10, maybe D12, I don't know. I don't ever really get to level 20, so I'm not entirely sure what it maxes out at. But you get more of these Bardic Inspirations as you level, and as you use them on your allies, it can make someone who is not a good talker into a good talker. Like if it's a -1 for their charisma, you give them a D6, well, there you go. So this is where you don't necessarily have to be the face, like I said, but you can support your allies to make them become the face. Bard, good for support. Obviously, when it comes to role playing, you're a performer. I have never had a DM that's forced me to sing or anything like that. I've never had anybody be forced to sing. I have had bards sing before, but I've never forced it. I've never had anyone force it. You're not going to be forced to sing unless you have a bad DM, quite frankly. But they are storytellers, so you know, charisma is going to be your stat when it comes to your spells. So you know, do a little bit of chatting, talk about your backstory, maybe make something up. It's not that hard. But the other thing they do, and every bard loves to do this, they play instruments. go into the inn. Again, while the barbarians arm wrestle and you're up on stage. And guess what? You performed high enough that maybe you get a room for the night, or you get a guest to go up to your room for the night. Bards can absolutely be the talker. Charisma is their forte. So if you want to do that, you can. Again, for a new player, I understand that's a little weary, but having the bard as sort of a backup talker is also not a bad thing. Number 3, we are going to go with another melee class, and this time we're going to go with the Paladin. The Paladin is, how do I put it, is more tanky than the Barbarian and also has some spell slots, but not a ton of spells to worry about. So I think that this class is better if you are looking to be sort of the traditional heavy armor type of like shield and mace. I'm gonna bash skulls type of thing. I think the Paladin is better for that. It's also a pretty good healer. Not the best because it's limited spell slots, but lay on hands, basically every level, you get 5 points to heal with. So at level 3, you can heal 15 points in one go. That's gonna be infinitely better than a Cure Wounds at level 1. Probably even like, well, I guess level 2, it might be able to match it, but you can use it in one turn, which is amazing. It also removes diseases and poisons as well, which is nice. But the bread and butter of the the Paladin is going to be its Divine Smite. So Paladin was my first character. So I was shield and mace, and then I took the fighting style, which made I did +2. So I was able to hit quite hard while still being very hardy. So that's why you might want to play a Paladin. Divine Smite is pretty simple. It's 2d8 radiant damage, 3d8 if it's undead, but typically it'll be 2d8. This means if you crit, that's 4d8 radiant damage. Radiant is one of the least resisted fucking spell types in the game. So this is really good, really strong. The downside, as I said, is you're gonna have like 2 spell slots, 3 spell slots forever, and I think you max out at like 5th level spells. And your 5th level spells are cool, but I mean, it ain't Wish, that's all I'm saying. And the other thing about the Paladin is, it's typically the face. The Paladin is normally the guy that will be doing the speaking, and I know for a new player that's a little intimidating, but eventually you're gonna have to get your feet wet anyways, so maybe you wanna try it. Maybe not exclusively, but try it a little bit. The other thing with Paladins you gotta watch out for is it's lawful good, not lawful stupid. Just because you found a vampire at level, you're level 3 and you found a high vampire, doesn't mean you gotta go attacking it right then. I understand that the Paladin order probably would take it out, but that's not how it works. That vampire would take you out for sure. So just make sure you're playing smart. Like, okay, I know where that vampire is. I also know I'm not capable of taking it out. I'm gonna go on a quest, get some more items, come back and smack this fool. And then if you don't wanna be the face, if you don't wanna talk, I would recommend, because it fits so well, maybe like going for a religion type or even medicine. Both of those checks are not used as much, but at least you have something to play around with your character if you're not looking to be the guy talking all the time. And of course, Paladins are strong, so you can be another strong man as well. Barbarian and Paladin is actually a great synergized combo. And for the 4th one, I am going to give you a caster, Warlock to be specific. Casters are always going to be more difficult to play. It's just a fact. They have a ton of spells. And some of you might be wondering why I'm not picking Cleric. Level 1 Cleric gets to pick a divine domain, and there are so many domains for the Cleric. If I looked at that as a new player, I'd be absolutely overwhelmed. So if you're gonna play a Cleric, or you're gonna recommend a Cleric, be like, hey, if you wanna be the healer, here's the light subclass or something like that. Pick something, help them pick in that instance. Cleric's got too much going on for it to be newbie friendly, actually. Anyways, back to the Warlock. Warlock actually also has to pick its subclass first, but they're a lot easier to understand. I personally think you should either pick Pack of the Tome or the Great Old One. The Great Old One allows you to speak into someone's head within 30 to 60 feet, but the good part about it is you don't have to understand each other. So, and it's gonna happen. You're gonna run into someone that doesn't know the language, someone's gonna be saying something, and you can speak into their head. Now, I will say this, if they're speaking out loud, you're still not understanding what they're saying. But if you speak into their head and they reply, you can at least understand what they're saying. The second thing about Warlocks is their Eldritch invocations. Again, this can be intimidating because there's a lot of them, but here's the thing, here's what Warlocks do. Eldritch Blast over and over. So your first one's gonna be Agonizing Blast, which improves your Eldritch Blast. That's a cantrip you cannot miss with Warlocks. Every Warlock uses it, it's the bread and butter. You do Eldritch Blast, and if you're feeling crazy, you do Hex, so you do extra damage, that's it. And then for your second Eldritch invocation, you can just pick something simple. Devil Vision, Devil Sight, or whatever it is super powerful. 120 feet of dark vision that can also see through magical darkness. I don't know, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that can actually see through magical darkness. I know, unless you have True Sight. I know there are things that can eliminate magical darkness, but just to be able to see through it, it's only the Warlock with Devil Sight. Another good option is, what is it? Detect Magic, however many times you want per day. If no one else in the group has Detect Magic, that is good to have. Detect Magic is one of the utility spells that is useful in nearly every situation. For an example, we heard something talking in shushed voices in another room. So we went in, we didn't see anything. There was no footprints or anything like that, even though the floor was dusty. Now, out of character, I was like, okay, this thing's probably just like crawling on the wall or something, you know? And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna take a shot, and I did the Detect Magic, and I pinged that there was something in the corner. And I don't remember what it was exactly, but that thing would not have been detected if I didn't use Detect Magic. So since we found it, we were able then to progress on with the story, get this rod and all that stuff. Detect Magic is very useful. So that's why I like that. Comprehend Languages is another good one, just for the record. And if you go Pact of the Tome, I recommend that you get Imp as a familiar. Pact of the Tome does allow you to get a pet, basically, which can seem overwhelming, but it basically just acts right after you and it can attack. Or you can use spells through it. So it's not that bad. It's also great for scouting. And before I forget, the reason I'm picking the Warlock as my caster is because you don't have a ton of spell slots, and they are always cast at the top level. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, do I want to cast this at level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. It's just always going to be cast at that level. The only downside to the Warlock I can think of is that they have unique spells that perhaps your players and maybe even your DM haven't come across yet. So just be ready to work through those together. Roleplay wise, the Warlock also has Charisma as its modifier. So the last 3 classes I've mentioned, incidentally, are all potential face characters. But the thing with a caster is you can do whatever you want. You can be the guy looking for ancient magic relics. You can be looking for lost magic. You could be a street wizard who just wants to do illusions. I mean, you're not a wizard, you're a warlock, but that's my point. As a caster, despite your class, warlock, you can do whatever you want. You can just be a student. You could be an advisor. You could do whatever you want with a wizard, warlock, whatever. A caster, because you are literally in tune with magic and not everybody is. So I don't want to say you're like above some of the people, but you know, maybe you are a little bit. That's all I'm saying. But the funnest part, you know, for me as warlock, when I played it, as I was a demon hunter type warlock, you know, fighting darkness, things like that, and then sort of tapping into that power to use it for myself. I like that type of stuff. Necromancy to an extent, but not quite the like, I'm taking over the world. Unless, I mean, hey, if you want to, maybe your DM will let you become a lich. You never know. All right, those are the 4, that's right, 4 classes I think are the best to do as a new player. If you think there's another one that's easier, I actually haven't played all the classes, so please leave a comment, let me know. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to help players that are like, I don't know, it's a lot, get into the game. So that's just me. Yeah, if you liked what you saw, got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.